Following the sentencing of Sherrone Moore, the Detroit News' Angelique Shinglis sat down with Warde Manuel and asked him about Sherrone Moore and asked him about the investigation led by a law firm into his athletic department and whether or not he feels that he is under investigation. He gave an interesting answer to that question. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you think Warde Manuel ought to consider himself under investigation as, well, law firm is going into their business for the second time in 5 years? And there's been quite a lot of moving and shaking in Warde Manuel's athletic department. I don't mind saying it. They have won a lot. They have also been wildly irresponsible. Both things can be true. Hockey team is great. Men's basketball team just won the national championship. The football team won the national championship just, 3 years ago, 2023. And now we are entering an era where Michigan can also be looking at $30 million in fines that it owes the NCAA for, Connor Stalions' led sign stealing scandal and lots of other parts moving around Jim Harbaugh's staff, including the federal indictment of one of his former offensive coordinators, the sentencing to 18 months probation for another of his former offensive coordinators and former head coach, Sherrone Moore. I mentioned Connor Stalions, and all of this has happened underneath Warde Manuel's watch. And I think in this day and age of sport, it's more important than ever to point out, look, it feels like you can do almost anything if you are winning at a high level. And Michigan's athletic department has been winning at a high level, which is one of the reasons why many of us believe, Warde Manuel's still in his job, dog. Now, all those things that have gone on under his watch also go on his resume, just like the national championships. But I've been curious what he thinks of all of this. This is a man who was scrambling to find a head coach in December after first learning from his former head coach that he had engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member that led to a rather dark scene of him entering into her apartment and threatening to hurt himself. And a judge saying, look, it could have gone much worse. You had no right to make your pain hers. And for that, 18 months probation. But even more important for our discussion might be some while yet before we see Sherrone Moore back on anybody's sideline as a coach. And this is for a dude that ain't yet 40. I'm sure in the next 5 to 10 years, he's going to get opportunities to coach somewhere for somebody. But will it be a job that is as important and as big and as historically, once again, important as University of Michigan? No, I'm taking that other bet. He might end up somewhere else, and I don't want to name any universities because I don't want them to think that I believe they're less than, but just say there are only a handful of universities that are on the level of University of Michigan, and I don't see him being head coach in any of those places. That said, Warde Manuel also needs to survive whatever this investigation finds, as, a real look at their culture has to come into view. So they got a new president. They got regents that care quite a bit. But I thought in him giving this Q&A to the Detroit News, he's also doing what we all asked him to do, which is to have something to say about this, even if it's months after the fact and essentially after whatever legal ramifications have occurred with Sherrone Moore. So what did he say when he discovered the, excuse me, man, wow, that came out of nowhere, improprieties is the way the Detroit News put it, that Sherrone Moore engaged with. He said, quote, "I felt betrayed. It's the best word that I can use. It was personal, but it was also, I want to emphasize for so many people that were affected by it. There are a lot of people who claim to be callous, who say, oh, you should have fired him when the rumor was there. But you can't just fire people on rumors with no evidence. So when the evidence was presented, it was a sense of betrayal and hurt for everybody who was going to be involved with a decision. Rumors that Sherrone Moore had not been himself, rumors that Sherrone Moore had been engaging in this inappropriate relationship for some months, and yet Warde Manuel saying, "Look, I can't act until I have something that is proof," and the proof that he needed was later presented by Sherrone Moore himself. Begs the question: what else could have happened to lead to the firing of Sherrone Moore for cause? And right now, I'm at a loss of what else you would have needed to see, or what else you could have seen, because it sounds like all of this was rumor until Sherrone Moore admitted to it, because, well, Paige Shriver was going to tell everybody in the first place. So he goes on in talking about the categorization of what transpired afterwards with the Regents and or him, asking for an internal investigation of their athletic department, or I should say outside investigation of their athletic department. And he declined to say whether or not it was his idea or their idea, which, draw your own conclusions on that. But he also went on to say, "I was fine if the direction that we went for a cultural assessment was in order." Like he's saying that, quote, "What I haven't appreciated is in the context of an investigation into the culture here. However people want to couch it, what I want is people to understand that 99.9% of the people here are doing things the right way. We've had our issues and we're not perfect. And I don't know how any organization that's without issues, or I don't know how of any organization that is without issues and people's issues." I look, man, I'm 99.9% of people is a large majority if you got a lot of people there. But I'm going to go ahead and say that if I can name 3 of your football coaches by name who've had a problem here, then you got a problem. Okay? Full stop. And we don't treat the entire entity or all the people in there the same. Why would we not put most of the onus on the people at the top, from the head coach all the way down? And then finally, I thought this was most interesting. He didn't really see himself as under investigation. He told the Detroit News, quote, "That's not how I see it. Listen, it's easy for people to say, well, Warde's the leader, and therefore this is not just a review. This is an investigation of what the leader has done. That's not me. That's not, to me, what I'm going to be taking away from this. And I'm not claiming that I can't be better. We've had our issues, and we deal with them, and we try to improve every time." Doesn't sound like the buck stops with you, dog. It sounds like you know what? I'm not even going to talk about what it sounds like. I'm just going to reread what he said. "It's easy for people to say, well, Warde's the leader, and therefore this is not just a review. This is an investigation of what the leader has done." Yeah, that's exactly what that is. It feels as if, yes, he should not have to take responsibility for other people's decisions. However, they are people that work for you. And when we have a system in place that has a hierarchy in place, we know the buck stops with someone, we expect that person to take on, hey, look, I hire the person, they work for me. I will take the blame for this and anything else that comes, because ultimately I'm the person that gets to hire and fire. That would have been the thing that I wanted to hear from him. That it is not, okay, fine. What I'm really interested in is, if you're a Michigan fan, or if you're not, what do you take away from this, if anything?